or learn more at ihtgambia.gm. IHT Gambia, connecting talent to opportunity.
Viewers from wherever you're watching us from, welcome to another edition of your weekly State of Affairs program here on QTV Gambia, broadcasting live from our studios here on Kairaba Avenue. My name is Aliou Sise, and this week we are joined on the program by the Director General of the Gambia Immigration Department, Ibrahim Mbop. Digi, thank you for coming on the State of Affairs program.
Thank you very much, and thanks for having me.
To start with, recently you embarked on a nationwide tour, to visit, your men and women across the country. Could you tell us the reason behind this latest tour? I think it's the first time since you were appointed, if I'm right.
Yes, it is the first time, okay. But what prompted me to go out in the field is the fact that once you are appointed, you should be able to map your AOR, understand your relationship outside, GID. Okay. So I went out to see how my staff are doing, the conditions under which they work, and of course to assess the cooperation on ground between GID staff and other security forces. Of course also with the communities, which are the most important grassroots level, to see how immigration officers are enforcing the immigration responsibilities on ground and how they relate with our stakeholders in the field. In particular also around the border communities, you have our Senegalese counterpart. All those relations are very important to assess. And then one of the key things is looking at occupational health and safety needs, logistical infrastructure around which their conditions prevail. So these are very important to me to assess and to see those that are very much long-serving and required to be motivated, because I've recognized talents and skills quite a lot. So it was very, very good for me to have that assessment of the ground, to be able to do take informed decisions with my command.
What was your impression?
The impression was very great. I happened to find that downstream, the communities were very welcomed, and all of that I heard from the grassroots, the alcalos, the youths, that immigration have a good relationship with the people on ground. And we use the opportunity to interact with border communities to assess, those insecurity issues that may have a threat on ground. So we realize even in Gunjur, you can see fishermen having good relationship with immigration, and they help in the intelligence gathering surrounding other immigration core function and activities, for instance, irregular migration. So this was very good to realize that officers in their different locations are also interacting with people, and of course with groups that help or assist that intelligence gathering to keep everybody safe.
And on the contrary, what are some of the challenges that they've expressed?
The challenges that are expressed, I will be very frank, is the distance between immigration locations. One on the side of ID, access to identity card issuance. And this happens in areas where, like in the province. Okay. And then it's true that some of these areas do not have banks, and it also impedes the process of acquiring national documents. Like cohorts within the periphery of our main Trans-Gambia, and then you will realize that there are villages inside, so they travel far. For instance, you can come all the way from Fatoto to be going to Basse, or you find people coming all the way from around Iliasa, getting to Farafenya to acquire some of. So this is one challenge, okay. And that has to do with our expansion. And the other challenge has to do with irregular migration. Irregular migration, the fact that Gambia is regarded a transit destination, you find quite a lot of people in the sub-region making headway to Gambia just to embark on irregular migration. And I want to believe the third I can call on has to do with our infrastructure. This is something we've been squatting in many places thanks to all those support we have, but we have also interfaced and then had discussions with governors and chiefs, so we have seen that support. We've been given land, for instance, Abuko, and we thank them for an immigration clinic. We've been given land in Sankandi, thanks to the chief. So we have seen that support from our local authorities, and this was very, very positive.
So are these challenges something new to you as a DG?
They are not new to me, and having looked at my time in administration, because I've served the immigration admin for a long time, but in the capacity of Commissioner of Admin and getting to be the ADG, Assistant Director General. So I am quite au fait with immigration and then our internal drivers, you know. So all of these things count for me to have that bank of necessities, and when it comes to what I can do or what plans do I have in the way forward to ensure that all these challenges, potentials or opportunities, strength that we can rely on. So because I've done my mapping, I've done a SWOT analysis, and I've also done a risk assessment of the office immediately I took over. So it took me time to be able to have that stakeholder analysis and to see what can be the way forward, you know, relying on the SP, the strategic plan that was there. And all of this is not only internal. We had our mapping considering local and international. So quite a lot had to do with what can we do connecting with the NDP, that is the National Development Plan, and of course, international treaties. You talk of ECOWAS protocols and generally. So it gave us a way to have a plan for the way forward.
And it's good that you established that, you know, you are quite aware of some of these challenges as someone who has served at the immigration for quite a long time. Since your appointment as a DG, I mean, what exactly have you been doing as a short-term priority to ensure, you know, you are able to move the immigration department from where you found it from your predecessor, who is now the IGP, to another level?
Yes, this is very important when it comes to the short-term planning or things that I've embarked on initially. The most important thing is building a team. But before even building a team, like I said, I happen to just look inward. Inward because I'm a planning officer. I've served internationally in that position with the United Nations at a very senior level. So as a planning and budget officer, after looking inwardly, what was very important to recognize is we have series or definitely plans that could lead us in the way forward in the expansion of what we want to do. But there was this problem of budget. We had budgetary constraints. And of course, having done the SWOT analysis and recognize your risk factors, so you'll be able to put up a plan, but who will be able to execute these plans? You need that team building. And that was why it took me like 3 months to stabilize, because that was also necessary. It was good to stabilize. Nothing was happening. We were moving as it were, giving time to my predecessor also, because you know, you need to allow the dust to settle. So after 3 months, that was when I reshuffled the commissioners. And then this was very important to me.
Why?
You must be able to know your staff, their strength, their weakness, and those talents, recognize their skills. And these are people I've worked with. So I'm able to map and understand who is who. And based on the trust, you now reshuffle them, give them key areas to handle. Like when we talk of Gambia Commission for Refugees, this is guided by an act. So what can I do? I need somebody who is legally minded. And then we have the capacity. So I had to deploy somebody who is legally minded into that. Now, you talk of expatriate quota. This has to do with those consultancies and, of course, people with talents and skills that the country needs to outsource, to come into the country, and they have to do with organizations. What can I do? I had to look for a very smart officer, very firm, who can do with this. And currently, we have a very good officer who is handling that area. So you now look into the region. You need to profile. Okay. Profile, for instance, Gambia, we have this bond, tribal bond issue. So you have people who are like Nyominkes. Okay. I deploy them into the Jara area. You take them to Jara. Yes. So it blends, because when I was commissioner of CRR, I was a Serer man deployed to the Fuller. So it was a good relationship, though I also have that Fuller blood in me.
Exactly.
So you have to strategize based on your demography. And the people right now, they are all comfortable where they are. So I had the best human resource team that took up. Again, I streamlined the staff and their ranking. You will understand that when I took over, we had a gender gap. Okay. 4% senior officers were female. So what could I have done? And that was why I realized people have also stayed long in positions, so you need to move people and be able to create an opportunity for the operational staff. Let them see themselves. No one is coming down. So there was a push up into that strategic level with comfort, then the operational staff, and then the tactical staff. This was not that easy.
I was coming to that, because some people are very resistant to change.
Yep. Good.
Yeah.
But I was, the way I strategized was a winning approach, because I have moved like 564 officers in one list of a deployment, but it didn't just happen like that. I first had to align to their promotions. You are promoted and you are moved according to the streamlined ranking, because we had to see the regions. We are supposed to have staff. I have a staffing table that addresses the HQ and all other regions. So we must be evenly distributed in the regions. And of course, I try to move quite a lot of officers from the administrative desks to the field, because it's necessary. We must be able to enforce. So having all these approaches within the first 6 months was really winning, because the staff were also aware of the plans. We had the mappings, we had the exercises that went out and make them understand that this is what is coming.
Was this a solo decision taken by you, or you had an independent committee that actually sat over this thing to decide who should go where, who should be promoted and all those things? Because many a times when there's a change of leadership, people assume some of these movements are out of witch hunt and trying to favor certain people to promote them and all those things. Was there any independent committee to actually sit over this to decide?
There was a panel, but I have to be very selective in knowing who should be part of this panel.
Why?
You see, you have to have people who also trust in you in the initial stage. Who believe in your
leadership?
They have to believe in your leadership, because change management, I've gone through it. And I've been doing more on reforms and restructuring right from 2008. And then I've developed some manual books, because I'm always used to that. And that's the way that put me into planning and planning framework. So when it comes to transition management too, I am quite being involved, because I've spent like 8 to 10 years in planning, and that has to do with the United Nations mission I attended with quite a lot of Gambians in the field. So one should know your short-term goals, medium-term, long-term, and you must be able to understand, change management, transition management, and of course, how you make administrative staff like 30% and 70% in the field. So the different strategies play around. But when I said you need to have people who trust and believe in you, that's where it begins. For instance, and I will go to Islam, though when the Prophet was called to that, you realize that Abu Bakr was the first person to also believe in him. So I had a technical team to panel, but we had to all believe in the fact that people must move. And then we did it. we had to go to Tanje without, you see, the only thing where people may not buy in is when they realize a default, when they see favor, when everything seems to be directed towards an inclination of interest. But what happened with my team is that after this was out, there was no talk. Because people know in themselves it's the truth.
Was it also because maybe they might be afraid that if they speak out, something might come against them?
No, because I have built this arena a long time with staff. You know, remember as an administrator or looking into that office of immigration admin, quite a lot of issues I dealt with. But I was also very supportive to the then DG.
Okay.
I was always behind him. And I was neutral, no matter the culture that exists in an organization. So staff had that trust in me, as well as the leadership. Quite a lot may have happened, but one's own approach in trying to come neutrally, and that belief or perception they had in you will be another 50% guarantee to begin with you. So change management, in the beginning, others go, is he coming to fight us? Is he coming to bring in, you know, extra stringent policies? What? But again, you build that courage, you build that welfare stream, you build that courage of professionalism, and the trust was there. But after it all, just to cut short and make brief, exactly. the staff were very, very cooperative. People went on their postings, and today they are happy. When I went onto the field during the tour, you can see the welcoming was really something I never expected, though I wanted to go low-key. But respecting your staff and then taking them through that, you know, feeling of we are the same creates a very good team. And I had to understand people with those welfare needs, particularly you have people who's, you know, it's not that easy to deploy.
So, I mean, with that, I mean, you talk about, I mean, infrastructure challenges that you face, that, you know, some of your offices, you are squatting and all those things. I mean, so what will you do from henceforth to ensure all these things are being addressed? At least, you know, you have proper structures for your men across the country, but equally the issue of capacity building for your personnel.
This is very good. Capacity building relates to goal 10 of our strategic plan. We are operating with 10 goals, and performance management and enhancement deals with that part. But capacity building is not our problem. We are very, very good in that, and we have very good human resource capacity. But when it comes to capabilities, there we had not internal issues, but we have external factors that definitely were challenging. Now, when it comes to squatting and what did we do? Initially, I took over the engineering team. I had to call the OIC and then see how best we can have a draft plan of the headquarters. And then a draft was provided by immigration. One thing with immigration is that they are very good in providing very good documents. It is immigration officers who worked on this strategic plan, and it is working for us. So we had a draft structure of a headquarter and costed, and then we compile it. And now, in trying to address that issue, during my first brief with the president, I had to present this. But he also supported us with, you know, linking us to GumWorks, because he believes in that infrastructure. So GumWorks is also with us, trying to review that plan. And when they are costed and done, we will also submit to our line ministry, and we will see how best Ministry of Finance would support constructing a headquarter for us. That's one. Two, on the side of field, you know, immigration has this goal on construction and renovation of offices. You can see that immigration officers themselves would, through philanthropists, because our stakeholder analysis have trying to point out those. We have officers who have themselves negotiated building stations for us through good Gambian philanthropists or friends. But of course, we also go down, like I said, Abuko just recently, the El Calo, they've supported us, and we are now building a clinic. The foundation is already built. We are trying to have the foundation laying on the 14th. Again, you talk of Sankende recently, and Soma. We had very good big lands, quite a lot of lands acquired in all the regions. But where we are squatting now, for instance, Kotu is built by immigration. You go to Katong, built by immigration officers through our regular vote. And so we are trying to space out, and it's happening. Look at Abuko itself. So these are all happening with us. Sintu Genome in CRR, these are all. So we are trying to have those affordable structures that could house our officers.
Like I said, from securing our borders to managing the identification of thousands. Your office has also come under criticism for many reasons. I know you do border management. You are responsible for people who comes in and out of the country. But many times people talk about the issue of bribery, harassment by your personnel at above the border, and even when it comes to immigrants or foreigners in the country.
Okay, this is very good to know that as of today, and I would say that go and see our HR office. We are fighting immigration fraud, and when I say immigration fraud, this is in both ways, internally, and of course to those that definitely attempt to violate the procedures by just this document fraud, and of course attempting to acquire the documents by fraudulent means. So internally, most of the officers who were involved in issues related to such that you mentioned are dealt with. Right now, we've cleaned up more than 27 officers or about that are now dismissed, including for those that have been, that have absented themselves for more than 6 months, because we are trying to also put compliance to the civil service rules, and of course those that overstayed, so that we have that cleanup, because the public service has also written to us. So we want to ensure that we are not found wanting in any of these regulations and their enforcement. But the issue of officers, when it comes to that, normally we mount our investigations, ensure that the reports are made, and this is why we are open to the public through our media, our Facebook page, and the PRO's office. We still have numbers that are ready, so that if there are complaints, people can send them forward and we look into it. But the issue has also flouted default areas, that there are also agents who operate as immigration officers, and people would want to feel they are dealing with immigration officers. I'm not going to be defensive that we don't have officers doing that, but internally, I would want to say assess and try to find out on intelligence. Many of them are dealt with, and we are still cleaning.
In 2023, the Fourier newspaper did an investigative piece on, how some immigration officers allegedly, give unofficial receipts to people who are supposed to pay their residential permit. They pay like 3,600. You just write something on an A4 paper and give it to them. Laissez-passer and all those things. Should people, in fact, pay for laissez-passer in the first place? Because this is something that is quite controversial.
You're very right. Laissez-passer is a French term which means visitor's pass. It is very free. Yeah. And you can see that we've also, enhanced our team.
It is free.
It is free.
So why are your men asking people to pay for this document?
You see, when you say why are your men asking for this document, this is not just a spot where one can say, okay, it is your men responsible. And I'm not saying they are not involved in doing so. We have a complaint around the Barra SL point. The officer is moved. So that's why I'm telling you.
Last month, someone was traveling to Jarasoma and he was stopped at Mandinaba, and she was forced to pay $200 for this laissez-passer.
Laissez-passer is free, but sometimes you have to understand the immigration officers also could be, just people, when they default, they create that room and then later can come back on you. But this is not something I would say immigration is proud of, to say that their staff are just asking for laissez-passer from people. You know, document security, one has to travel with your document. And I'm not saying they are the jurists on ground to say that, of course, they need to put punitive measures to ask for money and then allow people to go. Because for those who went through that encounter, I am saying that officially when we receive complaints as such, we deal with those officers in such practices. And that's quite enough to create that fear that we are not taking it lightly for anyone.
So are you telling people that if any immigration officer asks you to pay for this, you should deny, you should say no? People
should deny it because visitors pass is free. But you have to understand that I still want to say, maybe you meet up with people, like I said, document fraud. We still have in this document processing people also trying to identify themselves as immigration officers. And
but how could someone come to, for example, Mandenaba police station and you identify yourself as an immigration officer standing on the checkpoint? Come on.
No, I'm not saying people are in uniform. Our people are in uniform and they're identified by each and everybody who encounters them. And I am saying that if an immigration officer wants you to pay for a visitor's pass, during this tour, we make sure that point is made across and publicly. That visitor's pass is free, and then anybody who comes into contact with an immigration officer when it comes to a visitor's pass is free. And I will not say that immigration officers are not fond of such practices, but we have addressed that with very punitive actions on staff. So today I can say that the issue of discipline and conduct, there is a zero tolerance on that. I can say that.
What about the issue of the harassment? I mean, harassing, for example, there was a day I saw a video of your men using a commercial vehicle, I mean, trying to arrest some people, perhaps for not paying their residential permit and all those things. Do you think that is proper? Looking at the manner in which they handle some of these people.
You see, minimum force is exercised in any enforcement operations. And the officers are very well trained. But in a situation where officers have also been out to enforce, we will just request each and everybody to exercise that minimum application of force on the side of the officer or whoever is involved. When you talk about the vehicle use, actually the capabilities in terms of fleet is a challenge. But we cannot sit back and look. And you did mention where we have receipts and then they could put what?
They just use A4 papers and write.
You know, there was a time we had a challenge, but we can't sit back and just stay cool at workplace. It does not justify us doing that. But I have seen, which, for instance, that some of those that shows your enrollment date. What I can accept is that it may not be the appropriate document to issue out to somebody for appointment on enrollment. That I have to accept. But we had gone internally to discuss with our procurement so we can improvise a receipt that can show people this is your appointment document to come for enrollment. And people use that as a receipt when it's not. We have bank receipts and we are not. All this going to the bank, because it all started when I was there. We had Accountant General's personnel in the office. But what we did, now all payments are directed to the banks. That is to allow officers not to have that contactless, you know, not to have to do with people and their money. But it also happens you have a trusted ally, a friend, or then, okay, you say like, I'm sending you wave, you pay for me. We had an officer we lost simply because he had to go and pay for the person. And this was a very senior personnel. So in trying to assist people, sometimes they fall victim. And I want to also put to you that in the field, so we are not looking at officers and attacks on personnel. Okay. When they're enforcing, of course, during enforcement, sometimes you get to places, you see people trying to protect those that definitely, or again, whatever words are thrown on them, I know they are trained to absorb that or to be able to contain it. But let us also see how officers are treated in the field during their carriage of duty and how people behave on them. We need to respect officers also.
Thank you very much, Adeyi. Well, viewers, you're watching QTV, and this is your weekly State of Affairs program with me, Aleu Sise. We'll go with a short break, and when we return, discussion continues. Do stay tuned.
Welcome to IHT Gambia, your gateway to world-class IT education and hands-on training. At IHT, choose from diploma programs tailored to today's in-demand tech fields, Introduction to IT, Database Administration with Data Analytics, Advanced Software Development, Cybersecurity, Multimedia, Graphic Design and Digital Marketing. AI and Machine Learning, Cisco Certified Network Associate, CCNA, Master Industry Leading Tools and Languages, Python, Java, Oracle, Cisco, Microsoft Visual Studio, and more to gain real-world skills that top employers seek. And right now, enjoy special discounts of $4,000 to $10,000 depending on your chosen program. Visit us at 55 Karoba Avenue, Fejora, Kanefin Municipality. Call 3464161 4526974 6311320 or learn more at ihtgambia.gm. IHT Gambia, connecting talent to opportunity.
Hello viewers, welcome back from that short break. You are watching QTV, and this is your weekly State of Affairs program with me, Aleu Sise. My guest this week is Ibrahim Mbop, who is the Director General of the Gambia Immigration Department. Away from that, let's look at the issue of irregular migration, something that you are constantly dealing with. You have, conducted several operations, intercepted many attempted irregular migrants. How is the current situation of these menace?
Okay, I just want to go a little retrospect when it comes to officer safety in the field before getting to respond on the issue of irregular migration. You see, we have to understand that officers' lives matters. And these are people out to protect the people out in the field. You have the police out in the field, you have immigration, you have the military. But how much respect is accorded to them? We are well trained, we are part of the communities, and it doesn't mean that we are just there to abuse or exploit the people that we serve. But let's put that again into this occupational health and safety I'm talking about. How vulnerable are we? That sometimes you are enforcing your duty and people are not seeing what harassment is coming from the public also towards officers. This is not where we need to table who is right and who is wrong, but I just want to put it so that we understand that anytime there is an altercation or there is a situation, there needs to be cautious approach to see or get to find out facts. Because we've tried to also investigate and follow issues and realize some of them, you can't even come out publicly to explain. But in each other way, we are doing our best for that zero tolerance on our officers when it comes to misconduct. And coming back to irregular migration, this is a big challenge. We have intercepted more than 5,000 different nationals. To a point now, what we are realizing is that people from Asia, countries from the Asia continent are also joining irregular migration in the Gambia. But what is very important and steps that we have taken and we are very happy about is from January to date, in records, it has declined when it comes to the number of boats, or just one that successfully made it to the Canary Islands or that have anchored down in the west, because we have cordoned from Katong down to Bara, and of course lately we realized that we have departures up to around Kiang or LRR, I mean. So, but there is a good control at sea and of course in our land borders. Irregular migration at the moment from January to date, we have up to 12 more than that cases, but we have prosecutions, and we have also, through the support of the police, we've had some cases that are concluded already, and we've charged the smugglers.
Okay, the smugglers.
Yes, so again, in that same irregular migration, and we are linking with Senegal. We have a good cooperation, and the Guardia Civil is with us, the COP is with us. Our international partners are doing well, and we had a great support to protect the lives of our own people. And we have intelligence around, and then our officers also have a good relationship with the communities, just like I'm telling you, Gunjuru, that fishing community, with the immigration. So
what do you do with the people intercepted? For example, those from, other countries. Do you deport them or what?
What is important here is we try to repatriate them where they come from. And then you can realize that sometimes you cover this on media and find that there are pregnant women, there are children, some of them are smuggled, they don't even know where they're going. You find them in empty buildings, in completed buildings. And then when our intelligence struck, and then we happen to take them to Tangier, sometimes, yes, it's really deplorable, the situation surrounding, because people just collect their monies and then make them come. They don't know, but it depends on still the sub-region and outside. But what we do is we are working cooperatively with the Navy, with the police, anytime it requires for enforcement, things we cannot handle, and then our international partners on ground. So quite a lot is under control. Because when we visited Germany, also we've realized that in the statistics they were able to present to us, there was a decline, and this is just positive. So in terms of irregular migration, border management and control, definitely we are doing exclusively very well, and it's attributed to the last intake that we have. Also, we were unable to put them or deploy them in the field. So what we did was we allow that deployment from Barra down to KM to West Coast, and we supported through issuing motorbikes to these border communities through our NetCam. So these motorbikes support our intelligence gathering, and it also goes very well. And I will also appreciate the support given by UNHCR through the Gambia Commission of Refugees and the commissioner in there for some of the motorbikes that also support the protection services on the GCR, because we have within the border communities, we have vulnerable people also that had to do with the commission and refugees.
What will you respond to some who believe some of the laws are outdated to actually deal with the prevailing situation as far as trafficking, smuggling is concerned?
Well, I just have to say, right, yes, but we are doing our best. From the time of my predecessor, we've tried to work on our bill.
Where is that bill now?
And the bill is at the moment in cabinet, and we have the government support, and you can...
But that bill has been, I've been hearing about that bill for quite a while now. Why is it still in cabinet?
Yes, no, to pass a bill is not that easy. You have to have a very difficult, tight schedule with cabinet. They need to put everything right, and it's a government. You cannot just allow something, leave cabinet to the National Assembly. Due diligence should be done and will be done. So they have to again, put it on the motion and then deliberate on it, and show that, you just can't come out like that. Government does not just miss with it.
You said about 5,000 nationals were intercepted. How many of these were repatriated, as you mentioned?
Well, on the repatriation, I did not come with the statistics with me offhand, but I do know the total number.
So who funded repatriation?
We normally have our repatriation vote, and of course we have stakeholders working with us in support. So you will have to understand that we also have a good cooperation with our Senegalese counterpart, and then we all are into this. So once we meet them, it is made possible that some of them, even we get into contact with the embassies or the consular offices around, they need to come and see their people and give them the necessary support. So to us, we do not find it very difficult when it comes to how they need to ferry them back to their place of origin.
Earlier on, you said during your tours, some people complain about the issue of access to ID cards. Many believe, it takes them more than they will imagine to get their ID cards. Some applied for ID cards for almost 2 months, 3 months. They still can't have their ID cards. Why?
It's not a question of why. We have to understand that the ID card contract with the company, Semlex, cut short with government. And government is working out on that to put a report. And then what can we do after that cut short? We cannot stay just like the government has put a lot of effort through my ministry, and we are on that transition to support. But again, you have to understand that there was no problem before this. But look at now the transition. Those machines that we are left with, the infrastructure that we have, the government has also supported that transition in trying to give us those machines, the laptops that will be expanded to the key areas that are working on them. Of course, the infrastructure has gone so much, way out. But again, effort is done, and then we are allocated the funds to expand on these areas. It's true that when this happened, there was a time when the server systems had a technical issue. But of course, the ministry has also provided support to go and, work on these servers from Banjul down to Basse. So there is an issue, of course, when it comes to then the backlog of what has been there. It affected quite a lot of people, and that is why. Because we had to, by end of 2024, we make sure that when the support, when the cards were available, because you have to understand that there was a break of time when it took so long that people were not. But there was the transition time that government needs to work to support immigration in providing a solution to the problem. So that attributed to that people are talking about. But currently we are issuing cards and there is no backlog. I spoke to my team today.
There's no backlog. Just this afternoon, I spoke to someone who told me she applied for her ID card for almost 2 months now, and she still can't get her ID card. So suddenly there are backlogs. There are many people out there who have applied for ID cards, and they still can't get it. Passport is a whole different story.
No, you see, this is why it's good we come out and speak with people to understand. Because we do not have that portal where we say, okay, your ID card is done, come and pick it. We are working to digitize processes. Okay. But trust me, quite a lot of, you should come to Carnifing also and see, or go to passport office. If you speak to people, that's not a primary source. Again, try and go and see how many cards are ready for pickup and people are not there. Or there are a lot of cards. Today, there is no backlog at Carnifing when it comes to ID card. Okay. It is all printed. The same, we do print them at Carnifing. But what I need to tell you is that the report reaching to my office and what I conveyed to the ministry is for all the cards that were pending, when we had the cards on ground, all are now printed. And you have to understand, even 2024, like I said, our people were working double shift to ensure that before the year clocks, and it will affect the records, that people will know that they make sure that all the cards were printed.
Are you assuring all those who are watching you that have applied for ID cards, if they walk to the Carnifing office or Banjul, they'll be issued with their ID cards?
Actually, our enrollments are ongoing. Okay. Enrollments are ongoing. You see, when it comes to...
for example, someone who applied for his ID card since maybe 9th June.
If you have your receipt, okay, come, if you think you cannot get it through just where you enroll it, come with your receipt to the public relation office.
Away from that, something very controversial. Past weeks, past months, you embarked on what you call issuing ID card to Gambians in the diaspora. You went to Mauritania, you went to Gabon, you went to Togo. Why this initiative, and how were these countries identified?
You see, this is also another key question, but of course, it's under control. When you say why, we have to look into one thing. Embassies out to represent the Gambia, they are that extra jurisdiction of our sovereignty. It is not the embassy that initiates this, But we need to relate and have a flashback on Gambians have traveled far and wide, and they are very organized outside in the diaspora, be it Africa, Europe, or America. So the embassies are those institutions where they issue consular card to those to make sure they map their own citizens, and when they come into any contact with a Gambian debt or whatsoever, we deal with the embassy. But this reason is attributed to the request coming from organized Gambians through the embassy, and when it is forwarded to the authorities here they need to respond to them. But you have to understand that this whole thing was also attributed to the situation of those in Mauritania. That's when it all began. Mauritania had Gambians who are there, on Quranic recitations to master the Quran. Some are working, but because this is where it all started. Concerns were raised about Gambians who were flushed out, and they were between Rosso and Senegalese border. They had a month and even more. So the embassy find it very, very necessary to respond to the needs of Gambians. And then what could have happened? With the consular card that they have diplomatically, arrangements that have been, this was primarily what was supposed to have been agreed that, okay, with their consular, but they later changed their policies.
So how do you prevent, someone fraudulently claiming to be a Gambian when he or she is not? How transparent is the entire process?
I'm coming, because this has to be very clear. It has to be very clear to understand that the situation in Mauritania, even when they arrived in the country, they had an interface with people. They had an interface with the media. And now with those people, and the report that is there is very free for each and everybody to come and request and see who are those Gambians that were issued. But let's look back on the danger that was posed to Gambians. So the embassy just relaxed? No.
But we understand even after issuing these ID cards, the Mauritanian authorities were accepting these ID cards.
Because they had very stringent policy, and that Mauritania is responsible for whatever they want somebody. If you don't want somebody to be within a country, or you have your stringent measures, it's your jurisdiction, it's your country. And if you want to address issues like irregular migration or what is culminating to that activity, we don't know. But what we know is Gambians were in need, and this is not the first time Gambians expressed need to be airlifted or to be supported out of a jurisdiction they find threat, and the embassy has done what it's supposed to do.
How many people were issued, were registered for these ID cards, and how soon will they receive these ID cards?
You mean with Mauritania?
Mauritania, Gabon, and Togo.
You see, we need to structure the conversation in a way that we have a report that is in place for Mauritania. Okay. And of course, the number that is being issued is with us in record. Upon request, we can always display through the very relevant procedures. Okay. But when it comes to those in Gabon or Togo, you have to understand one thing. We are talking of jurisdiction. And we cannot be saying that it is against the law because the ID card or our constitution did not say, or the regulation did not say, you have to issue in Gambia or outside. That is silent about that. But it says to Gambians. To Gambians. And then if your embassy is a jurisdiction where you need to support your people, what is wrong about that? When the people request, it's not the state that is saying go to Gabon. It's the people of the Gambia who are residing in Gabon who made a request, and through the embassy, then what will Gambia do? You respond or not? I want to put you on a flashback. When Gambians cry out in Saudi, they were airlifted in the Second Republic. When Gambians find themselves in a threatening situation in any country, they call on to the government to support.
No, but
we've gone to Libya, we've done that too.
But here we are talking about airlifting Gambians. We are talking about going out of the country to issue Gambian national documents to people that many are even critiquing. The opposition, the civil society are doubting. They are questioning the transparency of us and the accountability of this entire process. In fact, Madam Jobate of one of them said, Gambians outside, in fact, they don't need ID cards. What they need is passport.
You see,
why ID cards and not passport?
You see, let's try to understand that what we are saying today, we will say, okay, this person said this or this political person. Are you in Gabon? Are you representing the voice of those who organize themselves to request for their documents? Do you know in Libya, when as a Gambian you have a child, when you are in fact conceived as a Gambian, you cannot get a birth certificate. Must you leave those Gambian decent people like that? Let's look at what we understand during or about our job and expertise. Gambians should not be vulnerable outside because of a document. If they request and organize themselves, the government needs to respond through the appropriate authority. But we cannot. My department needs to issue when we are authorized. But you cannot just get up. A country does not take such a responsibility.
How do you respond to those who say this is politically motivated in favor of the ruling government ahead of next elections?
You see, let us understand, we are also going on a reform, and security sector reform today has opened doors for us security to enhance, and we are no more like where you think we are. We is just a cluster or part of a country that are less educated to pack them and let them be the police officers. No, security is a very noble job, and we are all coordinating to ensure that the recommendations from the 2016 assessment are implemented on our own side when it comes to rule of law and protection of Gambian citizens. And we also have a goal number 6, to protect Gambians wherever they are with indicators. But we also have goal 2 that has to do with ensured documentation and identification. So this is happening. You see, it is the country's responsibility to identify its own people, enroll them into the state database.
So does this mean you are going to expand to other countries, perhaps in the Americas, in the Europes, Scandinavia?
You see, can I ask you something?
No, I'm here to ask questions. I'm not here to answer questions.
I need to also ask you that. When it comes to population census today, and I ask, how many are Gambians? Now, you see, let us understand something and what we are doing. Today, immigration is working with tourism to ensure that we have all tourism data correct, be it on land border, air border, and of course, we are working with GBOS. Statistics and data is very, very important for the country, and of course in its planning, and of course in its allocation of resources.
DG, are you going to expand this exercise to other part of the world, the America, the Scandinavia? Because we have a quite sizable Gambians
when
there.
you ask a question, that question, what goal or what is it directed to? Let's look at the objective. Let's look at what governance structures today. What are we doing? Gambia's governance system is on reform, and we are moving. Let's look at all those documents, all those recommendations, that foresight of where Gambia needs to be placed. Some are executive because of regional directives and the like. So must we just sigh out from that? We need to have the compliance or enforce. And whoever or which institution has to partake in that is an integrated strategic framework. And the government will call on every office to play your part. Let's try to understand governance. It's not me to say that, okay, how I understand it is what I'm, but my office's stake and mandate.
So these Gambians in Gabon and other countries, do they go through the same checks that Gambians here go through to get ID cards, and also do they pay the same rate as that of Gambians here?
It's the same. It's the equivalent in SAFA. But like I said, you know, let's look at the objective. Let's look at why this is happening. And if that is okay, then you come to the procedure. You know that an embassy, every Gambian embassy, has to have consular cards to identify your Gambian people. True or false? That happens. Now, if we have to go and issue, are we going blindly? It is coordinated by those embassies. But how does the embassy know that there is a need on ground? They had that role to interface with their own people and call them. What happens if a Gambian death happens in a country? You sometimes see that Gambians themselves organize themselves to airlift such a dead person into the country.
DJ, thank you so much. I understand time is up, but I will have you once again on the program so that we can discuss more about, what is happening at the Gambia Immigration Department. Well, viewers, with that, we bring an end to this week's edition of your weekly State of Affairs program. I was your host, Aliou Cissé. Do join us next week. Until then, bye-bye from me and the team.
Welcome to IHT Gambia, your gateway to world-class IT education and hands-on training. At IHT, choose from diploma programs tailored to today's in-demand tech fields, Introduction to IT, database administration with data analytics, advanced software development, cybersecurity, multimedia, graphic design and digital marketing. AI and machine learning, Cisco Certified Network Associate, CCNA, Master Industry Leading Tools and Languages, Python, Java, Oracle, Cisco, Microsoft Visual Studio, and more to gain real-world skills that top employers seek. And right now, enjoy special discounts of $4,000 to $10,000, depending on your chosen program. Visit us at 55 Karoba Avenue, Fejora, Kanefin Municipality. Call 3464161 4526974 6311320 or learn more at ihtgambia.gm. IHT Gambia, connecting talent to opportunity.